Hey there, my name is Anthony Romano, and in this video I'm going to tell you about the classic keto diet, how it was used to treat epilepsy patients, and in general, what we can learn from understanding the classic keto diet. So this is the 80-20 high-fat, low-protein keto diet. So I've made other videos in the past that talk about how keto is not a high-fat diet. Keto becomes and can be a high-fat diet as a byproduct of being a low-carb diet. So as a byproduct of not needing any carbs and that being the only requirement to get you into ketosis is that you are going to be eating more fats. So it can be high, and oftentimes you'll hear people recommend to you that you need to eat high fat, or that eating high fat is what's going to keep you in ketosis. It's not. Eating no carbs is going to keep you in ketosis on a regular basis, but consuming 80% fat to 20% protein is often recommended. And this is recommended because this is what was recommended by doctors to children who had epilepsy back in, I believe, the 1920s or 30s. It basically was one of the few things that stopped these epileptic children from having seizures. And there's even records from like ancient Greece where people had what we now believe to be epilepsy because they called it the falling disease, and people would have these seizures. And the only cure then was fasting, because fasting would get their body in ketosis the longer you didn't eat and didn't eat any carbohydrates. Again, being the only requirement for ketosis, whether you're eating no food at all or you are eating, as long as there's no carbohydrates, you will not, well, you will have some relief from epilepsy if that's what you suffer from. Or in general, you can understand the principle here to apply it if you don't have epilepsy. You'll have higher levels of ketones by fasting completely than you will by eating a ketogenic diet. But if you want to maximize the amount of ketones while still being able to eat food, the best way to do it is to have 80% fat and 20% protein. This is because not due to your body's own production of ketones, your body fat, right? These ketones are not coming from your body fat. If you're eating 80% fat and 20% protein, guess where most of the ketones are going to be coming from? Your plate, okay? Not your body fat, all right? If you are eating such a high amount of fat, you will have higher ketones, but you don't need this because this is not going to equate to more fat loss. You'll feel great, and you'll feel full, and you'll be sharp, depending on where you get your fats from, but overall, this is not entirely necessary. It will create higher ketones. This is going to be very beneficial if you have any sort of inflammatory disease or you have epilepsy or something like that. This will be beneficial, but in terms of fat loss, you do not need to do this because the classic keto diet is wrong. You don't need to do it for fat loss. That is what you need to do if you need high ketones for a medical condition. I've said this in plenty of videos, but the bottom line is that the only requirement is to eat no carbs, okay? And in general, yes, eating higher ketones, consuming more ketone-producing foods like fats, it will benefit you in many ways, especially if you're not trying to lose weight. If you're not trying to lose weight, eat more fat. You'll feel great. But overall, in terms of fat loss, if you're chasing a fat loss goal, eat a good amount of fat. Eat an amount of fat that will get you through the day, and you're going to have to experiment with this on your own to figure out what amount is right for you. Perhaps you'll be great off of 60% fat. Perhaps you'll be good off of 70. Perhaps you'll be good off of 65. For me, my sweet zone is around 60-30, but some days I push closer to 70. Some days I hit 80. Some days I hit 55. At the end of the day, on a regular basis, if you're not eating carbs, you're going to need a certain amount of fat for your body to have energy, and it's also great for your body to get nutrients because most of the nutrients are stored in fat. But overall, when you are doing a keto diet for fat loss, you don't need to do the classic 80-20 keto diet. You don't need to do high fat, low carb. You need to do low carb and then adjust the fat depending on how you feel that day. And in general, make sure you're hitting a certain amount of fat overall to get your nutrients in. One thing I will say though, if you are a woman, listen carefully here. If you are a woman or you are relaying this information to a woman, women on keto diets tend to experience hormonal issues if they go really low in fat and really low in carbs. So a lot of women, and I have videos on this for women as well, would benefit, and it would be a lot safer of a move if you had higher fat on a keto diet if you are a woman, because this is going to be helpful for your body in producing hormones, and it's going to ensure that your body has enough ammunition basically to produce those hormones. Obviously, we can get into discussions of which fat sources are better than others, but in general, if we're talking about macronutrient ratios here, if you're a woman doing a ketogenic diet, err on the side of more fat than less fat. Men have a lot more room to get by on this, and we won't necessarily notice any hormonal side of things as sensitively as women would by doing a lower fat keto diet, which isn't necessarily optimal, but you just don't need a high fat keto diet. So, for example, some women can get by on 60% fat, but some women might need 70% or higher to really feel their best and to make sure their hormones are the way they should be. So, if you're a woman starting this diet, don't be afraid of the hormonal problems. You really don't have to. It's just the precaution you need to take is to start off with higher amounts of fat. Eventually, your body will get good at it, and you can probably get away with more of a deficit in fat if you truly had to. But overall, start off with higher amounts of fat and keep it closer to the classic keto diet. You can I highly doubt any woman needs more than 70% fat to have proper hormones on a keto diet. But overall, keeping it above 60% would be optimal at the lowest. So if you're a woman. So overall, that is understanding the keto diet, understanding the classical version of it, where you would need to have higher amounts of ketones depending on medical conditions, depending on if you're a woman or not, depending on how adapted you are, right? In the beginning, you're always going to want to start off with higher ketones, and this is also why you're often recommended to have high fat in the beginning, because most companies that recommend this tend to not really understand the diet that well, and they'll just say eat high fat because it's going to ensure that you're in ketosis, and they want to just guarantee that, and they don't want to be liable in case you're not, if you're not eating enough fat. So overall, at the end of the day, eat a keto diet to your liking, play on the safe end, and start off with higher fats in order to get your body adapted quicker, or if you're a woman or somebody with sensitive hormone issues, start off with higher fats. Hopefully this video was valuable to you. My name is Anthony Romano. Ask me any questions you want in the comments. I'll get back to you, I promise. And hit the little notification bell, subscribe to my videos, and any way I can help you, I'd be happy to. So leave a comment. Peace.